Wait, so you're trying to tell me this is real blood?
Absolutely.
Oh my God. And you're probably wondering, how the heck did I end up here? Let me explain. How do I look? Do I look legit? So I'm Kenny Finance. I'm the private equity baby that was trained at Blackstone and KKR, and my job is to find and buy boring businesses. And I was thinking through what is a really great industry to invest in, and I came across the biohazard cleanup industry, which is impressive. But once I found the industry, I wanted to find a really good business to buy into. So I found Bio1, I hit up the owner and I said, hey, can I stop by and learn about your company? And I was able to spend 24 hours understanding his business and what makes this industry so great. And for you, we take all of our learnings and outline them in what we like to call an investment memo for this video. And we're going to start with the industry overview, aka why is this market so attractive? And then we're going to double click into this particular business and understand why this company is an amazing investment. Then we're going to touch on some of the financials and figure out how profitable some of these jobs and businesses are. And then lastly, we're going to touch on my investment thesis of why I love or don't love this particular business. And as always, we love to vote whether or not we're going to buy or pass on this company at the end of this video. So make sure you guys stay towards the end for that. So we got no time to waste. There are crime scenes for us to roll up our sleeves and get to cleaning up, and I'm ready to rock, baby. Let's go. Okay, so remember that scene, take the gun, leave the cannoli from The Godfather? Epic scene, right? Well, did you know that there's also a team that comes to that scene after the crime is committed, and they're the ones that cleans it up to make it look as if nothing even happened? That's right. It is the biohazard and crime scene cleanup crew that comes and does that job. So let me tell you about this market and why it exists. Dirty messes and crime scenes happen every single day in every city across the entire world. Whether it is harm that someone commits against someone else, against themselves, unintended deaths, biohazard spills, hoarding, anything, you name it. There's always going to be dirty messes every single day. And after first responders and law respondents show up to a scene, they are not the ones that clean up afterwards. They make an immediate phone call within like the hour after something happens to a biohazard cleanup and restoration crew that comes and cleans and restores that site to its newfound glory. And it is not glamorous at all. This industry is extremely dirty, but also extremely essential. Like, it's non-negotiable. You can't have a crime scene one day and leave the mess lingering for weeks. You need to have that mess cleaned up as soon as possible. And this goes for property owners, insurance companies, hospitals, law enforcement, you name it. If your property or community or municipality has some type of dirty mess, it's gotta be cleaned up ASAP. And what's really cool is that when we take a step back and think about the overall market opportunity, aka the TAM, and that stands for total addressable market, the latest estimates for how big the US biohazard and home decontamination market was in 2024, it said $1.4 billion. Meaning the total amount of businesses that are operating in that industry, all of them are generating total $1.4 billion. And it's only growing higher and higher. And when it comes to the number of providers in the US, there are thousands of folks that are doing biohazard, crime scene cleanups, hoarding restorations, you name it. A lot of them are mom and pop shops that focus and specialize and are licensed in this particular skill set. But then others, they have franchises like ServPro and other businesses like Bio1 that provide this service as well. And these businesses operate like 24/7 rapid response centers. You call them with an emergency, a crime, a mess, they answer, they pick up, and they handle the jobs immediately. They are specialized and trained to deal with different situations. They understand all the regulatory requirements on different contaminations. They have all of the equipment, the hazmat suits, the PPE to ensure that their employees are doing the job fairly and protecting themselves as well. This is a very tight ship when it comes to running a very smooth operation. And I'll tell you now, no random Joe can get up and start a biohazard cleanup business in like 2 days. The barriers to entry in this industry are quite significant, so therefore you don't have that many players, but you also have a pretty sizable, big $1.4 billion market, and that's attractive. So now that we know the rationale of why this market exists, as well as how big and how massive of an opportunity this is, let's dive into one of the most impressive players, Bio1 in Oceanside, California. Well, I saw from the sign, Bio One, crime and trauma cleanup. Is that the only thing you guys do? And like, walk me through like what the heck that kind of setup is.
So crime and trauma scene cleanups obviously require a lot of care and compassion. So let's start with that. I mean, obviously some kind of tragedy has happened in the home, and our job is to go in there, come in with a loving heart. That's our number one priority. We always have to come in with a loving heart, know and earn that trust so that they know that we're going to take care of their home properly and do as least damage as possible. So that's always our number one goal. Sometimes we have to pull up tiles, sometimes we have to pull up flooring, sometimes we have to cut carpets. But if we don't have to, then we'll try not to do that. Ultimately, they're going to move back into that home. They don't want remnants of things that's going to help them remember those situations. And so, you know, when we definitely do the job, we certainly suit up. A suit to wear, PPE, gloves, double gloves. We seal our zippers, and then we have respirators and goggles to ensure that our team is safe, because there's a lot of OSHA requirements to ensure that you don't put the team in any danger. And so we do proper training on the chemicals, we do proper training on how to put the suits on, and then even how to remove the suits. So we got donning and doffing instructions. That's what they're called. As you're working the scene, because I know a lot of people are curious about this, It's really important that we ensure that we don't ever cross-contaminate scenes. And so there's processes and procedures that Bio One has created for us to ensure that we don't cause blood in one location to show up in another location of the home. All right, so I'd suggest you put just 1 foot at a time. You notice there's booties already attached to this thing, so carefully slide your feet into that booty down below. It's always good. Also, the other thing that we teach is that you probably lean against the wall, so you don't have to worry about like falling over. That kind of helps a little bit for sure. Keeps you nice and sealed. Do the same thing. See how much easier that is when you lean against the wall. And then of course you put your arms through. Don't worry about zipping till later.
Is it one size fits all?
No, we have different sizes. They go from large. Actually, there are some small mediums, but we only get extra large and 4XLs for some of our bigger guys.
All right.
And then of course we got gloves here. So these are long cuff gloves. So you put one of these on, and then you make sure it goes over your sleeve. And then we seal that guy in with some duct tape.
Oh, you seal it with duct tape?
Oh yeah, we duct tape you. Yeah, we definitely, because we want to make sure that you don't get exposed to anything. So these are 8 mil gloves. They're actually pretty thick and long cuff. So it makes it easier to put over your sleeves. And then when you duct tape it, it's always good to do the flap first here. You kind of fold that over, so it's easier to remove later. So we do this like this, all the way across, and then we come through here.
We fall into a box.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No germs is getting through here.
And just to note, most technicians do this on their own. They don't have other people doing this for them.
I'm a trainee.
And then you put on a second pair of gloves.
Oh, no.
Yep. You put a second pair on as well, so that as you leave a scene, you take off those gloves, and then you can walk around, maybe get a drink of water, and you have gloves that are clean. And then, of course, second pair of booties as well.
Okay, for my shoes.
Yep. Well, good. You did that without actually leaning on the wall. That's good.
I'm getting better at this. First day on the job.
We add the tape to your zipper portion.
How do I look? Do I look legit? I'm ready to clean up anything.
We got to cover your head too, by the way.
Yep. Okay.
And so again, we put that little flap there, and I'll let you kind of push that down for yourself.
Yeah.
There you go. Just to make sure it doesn't open up.
Zippers.
Yep.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
But don't do that until you put this on.
Okay.
Here's the mask. Oh, and I gotta get you some eye protection. Yeah, eye protection's in the back. Let me go grab it.
Oh.
And this goes on your face shield.
Oh no. And it goes on the.
Yep, right on your forehead, just like that. So it prevents splash.
Okay. Oh, it's not rough. How big is the team? Is it just you going out doing jobs, or do you have a team of staff going out with you? How big's the team?
So our team currently, the size is, you have me, you got my GM, his name is Doug. We have about 4 currently part-time cleaners as well right now. We used to have 2 lead technicians that were full-time. We had to kind of reorganize our business a little bit, but that's the size of the team right now. And so whenever we're actually on a job site, we try to send at least 2 people. But if we think it's small enough, obviously our goal is to save money for the customer. We'll just send 1 person. It just depends on how big the scene is and how much work it's going to entail. Sometimes we bring a team as big as 4 to a scene if we need to, but that's rare. That's a rare situation.
So for a scene, you have the truck, you have yourselves, and then from your warehouse, you have an incredible amount of equipment. So walk us through, like, what is the different pieces of equipment that we have here to clean up a typical crime or trauma scene job?
So we started with Obviously, number one, observation skills. I mean, your attention to detail is really important. Using the light, we kind of showed this to you, it has to be bright so that we can actually look at the details around everywhere.
Yeah.
And then after we analyze all that, take some pictures, then we come up with a plan. And it's all about after what we see, what we kind of smell, how we're going to attack the plan, how we're going to take care of it. Once we know exactly what we're dealing with, sometimes we have to cut some things out. Sometimes it's just spray and wipe. Sometimes it's extra scrubbing. So we have some scrubbies. And then when we're finished, we use a final test. Hydrogen peroxide allows us to kind of determine if there's anything that we've missed and allows us to kind of ensure that we didn't miss anything. And then once that's tested and good to go, everything's wiped and clean, then we may leave particularly for unattended deaths, when there's strong odors to deal with, and the ozone machine takes care of that. Or sometimes we bring in, this big beast right here, this air scrubber. So what it does, it's actually a filter system. So what it does is air comes in this way, and then it blows the air out here, and it basically cycles through 550 cubic feet per hour.
Okay.
And so its purpose is to clean the air that's in there, and it has a HEPA filter as well as some carbon filters in there to absorb those odors. The carbon odor, I should say. The carbon's really for the odor part. Again, so that the family can return, do what they need to do to take a look at the house and decide what they want to do with it.
So you don't just do crime and trauma scene cleanup. There's like other categories and you called it a biohazard cleaning or sanitation business. How would you overall summarize that industry and the different types of jobs and revenue streams that you guys could possibly have?
Because we do crime and trauma scene cleanup, we basically know how to deal with any biohazards that are in there. And so biohazards are basically any kind of viruses, bacteria, and our chemicals allow us to actually kill and destroy them. Whereas most cleaning is just wipe and pull away, it doesn't necessarily destroy 99.9% of them that are on there. And so our goal is to make sure we destroy as much as possible. So that may include a hoarding situation where someone, unfortunately lives by themselves and they just have all this, extra bacteria that's in the space because they're not cleaning properly. It may be a rodent situation where a rodent get into the home and unfortunately wasn't taken care of properly, or got into a shed, or maybe on patio furniture. We also dealing with mold. Again, because of the hoarding situations we deal with, a lot of times they don't necessarily take care of the homes. There may be a leak that happened and they're just living with it, and we just walk into just a huge amount of mold. And that's why we have equipment just like this for the dehumidifiers. There's another HEPA filter, of course, that we use to clean mold as well. And of course, you see more air scrubbers up here. Because we've been doing all this training, sometimes we deal with flooding situations as well. So you'll see behind you right there, this is what we call our carpet extractor right here. So it has the ability to clean, but it also has the ability to extract fluids. So we use tools like this to extract the water that's in the surface. This machine has a high level of pumping that it can extract it at a high level. And then it also has the ability to be connected to a water hose so that we can export that waste into another location so that we don't have to carry it and we don't have to stop working. It just works on the pumping part. We have these HEPA vacuums as well to make sure, when we're cleaning rodent droppings and other things, just to make sure that, again, as we're cleaning, we're not spreading more as the pump of the vacuum is trying to, suction air and push air out in one direction. It HEPA filters it to ensure it stays in there.
So you guys do crime, you do hoarding, you do rodents. It seems like a bunch of different biohazards. I have a funny question. You ever seen Breaking Bad?
I have. I've watched the whole thing.
Do you guys do like drug labs?
So interesting point that you bring that up. That's actually one of the new things that Bio One is starting to do. I'm actually trained to take care of drug remediation scenes. And so I have in some situations dealt with people who have just smoked meth or even just tried to sell meth out of a rented property. And I went in there to kind of clean and, again, decontaminate. And this is where, again, it's really important that we have our unmarked vehicles so people don't know what we're doing in there.
Yeah.
They could just say, we could just say, we're just cleaning. And they don't know exactly what we're cleaning, but we just tell people we're just cleaning.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's so cool. So it's cool to see from the movies, what you see in mobster or crime scene movies, or even Breaking Bad, big drug lord movies, that there is an essential service on the back end of those activities, whether it's unfortunate or illegal.
Right.
Just to get society back to a clean and sanitary level. That's so cool that you guys are kind of in that value chain and kind of very needed as well. Would you say you guys are recession resilient and an essential service?
I would definitely say, unfortunately, during the time of COVID, we were still busy. And actually a lot of the bio ones across the country were busy.
Whoa. Pause right there. Did you hear what he said? He said that even during COVID, he, as well as other providers, were still busy. Let's unpack this for a bit. Do you know how many businesses declined or failed or went out of business during COVID? Hundreds and thousands of businesses across the world. So for a business to say that during COVID, they were still busy, they were still generating revenue, that is incredible, because that points to me as an investor like, hey, there is some defensibility in this underlying business model, meaning that it is a little bit more defensible than the average business when it comes to downturns like COVID, like the 2001 bubble, like the 2008 financial recession. These kind of businesses, when good times are happening, they're crushing it. When bad times happen, they still have business. And this is what I like to call broadly recession-resilient businesses. And this, of course, is an example of like a super essential service that is recession-resilient. But there are other ones as well if you're an investor and thinking about other markets. Think about HVAC, plumbing, electrical, right? Whether it's good times or bad, you still need your AC or your heat to work. You still need your running water to work to call a plumber. You still need your lights to work. So these are the businesses that private equity and myself at Dreamline, we love to acquire, primarily because good times or bad, there will still be revenue to generate in that particular business. Now, will it be 100% growth? Maybe not, but it will perform better than the average small business in that particular tier of companies. And I don't want to gross you guys out, but BioOne is essentially providing rapid response biohazard cleanup and restoration services to different customers that have these kind of unfortunate events, self-inflicted events, dirty big messes, biohazard spills, hoardings, you name it. And the services that they provide, I want to read this and be very specific. They offer a broad range of services, but to summarize it all, it's removing of some of those contaminations on a particular site. There is the structural repairs that they are able to do with their teams. They do the odor remediation to ensure that any lingering odors from that particular mess or crime scene or whatever is removed, and that's a pretty tough job to do, by the way, as well as the sanitization to ensure that there are no lingering germs, bacteria, etc., that is associated with that particular mess. And then they dispose of some of that contaminated and dirty materials in a responsible manner. And all of that, by the way, from start to finish, is heavily regulated, and you need to do it to an utmost T and standard when it comes to executing on these particular jobs. And this isn't like a laid-back style of business. Like, the owner has to be on call 24/7, weekdays, weekends, holidays. He doesn't get to determine when someone wants to make a really big chemical biohazard mess, or when someone wants to do a big shootout or crime. He can't control that. But we can control is how responsive he is to customers to ensure that he answers on their first ring. Now, who are their customers? We can't disclose a specific customers, but the broader idea of the type of customers that they serve include law enforcement agencies. They also work with landlords and property owners, as well as different commercial buildings and businesses, as well as families and homeowners as well.
I'm an investor, and if you don't mind, I love to just get under the hood and just try to figure out. We learn the operations, we understand your customers, but like, what about the financials? Is this business profitable?
The margins of any job, the gross margins, I should say, could be anywhere between 30%, could be as high as 75, 80%, depending on the types of jobs you're doing and how efficiently you do them. And, there's a lot of us who try to target closer to 50, 55% gross margins in terms of each job, just because our costs and our overhead above, the typical gross margins are pretty high. So
okay. So like, what's the average project size for like how much revenue you're getting like per project, whether it's for a big customer, a large or small customer? How big are these projects typically?
So in my 5 years of being in business now, our average project size is anywhere between $2,000 to $2,500. That's just the average. And the reason I say that is because we do have small jobs. Some jobs are really small. It's only $170 and we're done. Other jobs, of course, require more of our time and effort. And the biggest job we've done is $55,000 job. So
$55,000 job?
$55,000 job. So it was actually a homeless encampment situation where it's just huge.
Yeah.
I think we also had a hoarding that was about that same size.
Yeah.
And so that kind of job obviously will take lots of people. I think for that particular job, we had 6 people on the job every day. Typically only try to work 6 hours a day, just because the physical nature of a homeless encampment is just hard. And it was along the hillsides. And so, we're wearing suits. Those suits cause us to sweat a ton. And so we actually had to rent some extra equipment that we normally wouldn't use. So we rented a UTV, for instance, so that we could use that to go back and forth to toss away all the trash, because we couldn't tow it with our current equipment, we had to rent the truck so we could tow that UTV everywhere. And then, of course, we had to rent some bigger box trucks so that we can take that trash to the dump after we were finished.
Gotcha.
Just because we had no place to put dumpsters down.
Gotcha.
So
average project size is around $2,000 to $2,500. But sometimes you can get a huge one-off project,
Yep.
like $55K. How many projects like per week or per month would you say you're typically working on?
So on a given average small month, we're probably around 20 jobs a month. And if we're definitely doing really well, some of our offices that do as many as 100 jobs in a month. There's definitely some potential to do a lot of great work in the community. Some do really well with only 15, 16 jobs because of the way they target the kind of customers they're looking for.
Gotcha.
So if you get more of the biohazard cleaning jobs, meaning the blood and the undiscovered death, then there's more potential for higher payouts because of the insurance and the cost to pay us out that way.
And then what about the cost? Like, what are the different costs associated with it? It's the labor, it's the equipment, is any fees or licensing associated with like getting a lot of business running? Like, what's like the typical cost you have every month?
So, I mean, obviously, number one, you've got insurance costs. So insurance is a big cost, whether it's for your vehicles, whether it's for just your facility, whether it's for the general liability costs. And so all of those insurance costs are definitely expensive. And that'll depend on the size of your team, how many hours you're working. And so those are not necessarily fixed costs. They can actually fluctuate a little bit. Then you have the cost for labor, because you need people to do this work. I would say that this is one of the reasons why it's probably, in your eye, a good industry to be in, because it's kind of AI proof right now.
Yeah.
I mean, AI can't do the physical work that we do. The robots are not quite there yet.
Yeah, ChatGPT, clean up this question.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why we're a little bit safe from AI right now. And then, of course, there's the marketing costs. So you've got to pay for the marketing. You got to decide which channels you want to market in. Do you want to do Google ads? Do you want to do local service ads? Do you want to do SEO costs? Do you want to do, the actual hiring of a marketing person to actually do some extra marketing, just pounding the pavement kind of work?
Yeah.
And then you also have the chemicals and the materials for each job that you have to do. So we try to supply some of the things so we don't have to purchase on a regular basis, and then, maybe go once or twice a month to actually resupply up everything that we need.
And then typical gross margin profile for like this kind of business, how can it range for gross margins?
We're a helping company. That's who we are. Sometimes we go with the lower margins just to help the customer out because that's all they have. And so sometimes we'll walk away with 10, 20%, sometimes even just zero. And other times we sometimes have negative costs because we just decide to do it for free. And a lot of bio ones do a lot of jobs for free out there. And the higher end of things, if things work out and you're super efficient and you can prove to an insurance company that this is all the work that you did, you can sometimes walk away with, 75, 80% margins. So it's
75, 80% margins?
Yeah. So and again, it just depends on how bad that scene looked and then what you can charge based on the hours you actually need to do to perform that job. The labor hours that we get to charge through insurance is typically much higher than what we charge a regular customer because that's what's already determined and figured out by the insurance companies and acceptable to them.
What I see so far, you're doing 2.5 average project. You can get between 20 to 100 jobs. So revenue-wise, this is a pretty good scaled business. Pretty solid margins, but like on the crazy end, you can get 80% gross margins. This is insane.
Well, and again, you have to understand like not all jobs are going to get that margin, right? Those are the few and far between unless that is the market you target.
Okay.
And so you're competing with some companies that have a budget of $20,000 a month on Google ads that I don't necessarily can compete with.
Say I go to my investment committee and I'm like, I love this business, I'd love to invest. If I had $100,000 that I want to put to work into this business today, like where would you allocate $100,000 to like continue growing this business?
So I'd probably allocate the hiring of another marketing person, hoping that after 6 months that they would be paying for themselves and basically do more, again, relationship building so we can get more referral work. So that may take up like $40,000 of that budget just to hire that person, train them, get them working, assuming they're not generating any revenue for 6 months.
And what about to like do the jobs? Would you invest more in hiring more like actual service professionals to tackle the jobs and execute on the jobs?
So right now I have a GM and I have about 4 part-time people. 2 of them can probably scale up to full-time right now if necessary. And so I could probably cover quite a bit with just 3 people full-time and 2 people part-time. I would probably hire then more other part-times just so that we can handle any extra inflows that come in from that extra marketing. So I'd probably I would pay for full-time salaries, obviously, but then also some new part-time salaries as well. And I would also probably have to consider the idea that if we're able to do this, I might actually get a fourth vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I only spent the day with the team, but when it comes to financials, what you really want to do is once you have access to the underlying financials, that's when like the financial wizards can really do their work. And some of like the simple, like easy cuts of financial analysis you can do is try to understand historical revenue growth and project going forward how much revenue can grow going forward. I like to ask for like 5 to 10 years of historical financials, full P&Ls, to understand on a month-by-month or year-by-year basis, has the business been growing or declining on average over the last 10 years? And that will help inform going forward, will they continue to grow? And then I like to understand the margin profile, like the gross margin profile. And gross margin, if you don't know, revenue less cost of goods sold, AKA the cost to actually produce or perform that service divided by the overall revenue. And that gives you the gross margin profile. And then lastly, I like to look at the EBITDA margin, AKA a proxy for operating cash flow, to get a sense of how cash generative is that business. And to calculate that, you take your gross profit less some of the key operating expenses, and that gets you EBITDA. Now I know, don't be pissed at me. I just put you through a very, very, very quick financial analysis crash course. But lucky for you, if you are serious and interested in learning how to buy a business, I put together a very free ebook. It's like 15, 20 pages of everything that I learned at Blackstone and KKR when it comes to finding out how to buy a business. We talk about sourcing, how to find great opportunities. We talk about diligence, the right questions to ask to identify if it is a good or bad business, as well as financial analysis. And then we also talk about funding. Like once you find a great deal, you do the diligence. How do you fund an acquisition? With SBA, with seller notes, with equity, all kinds of things. So if you guys are interested in that, check out the link down below where I give you guys a free ebook. I don't know how many copies I have, but I just want you all to know everything that I know in my head, so check out that link down below. All right, now that we cranked the numbers, it is time for us to outline our investment thesis. This is my favorite part of an entire deal, where you take everything that you learned, all the research, all the calls you had with competitors, with customers, with the management teams, all the financial analysis you've done, all the diligence, all of the homework, you put it together in this very, very, very simple page that outlines why you like this business and what you need to believe for your investment to work out. This is some real Blackstone right here, dude. I'm giving you guys boom. And I outline my investment thesis in 6 key components. And I'm gonna run through each of those. Number 1, it is an essential service. Like I said, in good times or bad, people need to clean up crime scenes, hoardings, biohazard spills immediately, within like 24 to 48 hours. This is always going to be an essential service, and I love that. Number 2, these are very sticky customers. The police department is not going to run through 15 different providers every time they have a crime scene. If they trust a provider after 1 job, after 2 jobs, after 3 jobs, odds are they're gonna stick with you for the 4th, the 5th, the 6th. So if you have a great reputation and you have a great quality service and you have capacity to execute on those jobs, you can have a sound and sticky customer base. Number 3, high revenue per project, AKA you have the pricing power. Look, if a customer calls me today and says, hey, we have a really, really, really big chemical or biohazard spill or a huge hoarding project that we need to get cleaned up immediately, and I say, hey, it's gonna charge $100,000 for this project. If I'm trusted, great reputation, and I'm good at what I do, they can't like not take my price. Now, granted, you have to charge a price that is fair and relative and comparable to the market and protect your margins, of course, but there's not a bunch of back and forth, and you're not gonna have customers pricing you down all the way to where your margins are super thin. But because this is an essential business and the customers have timing pressures on the execution of that particular project, you, my friends, have pricing power. And then the 4th one is solid margins. And I love the fact that with this kind of business, given that you have strong pricing, the cost to do this service is you can be pretty consistent and hire full-time people to have a standard wage throughout the entire year. So there's not huge fluctuations in your gross margin profile. Maybe it's when you need to hire more folks, but overall, you can have a pretty solid margin profile that is consistent as well as expanding when you leverage that pricing power. Now, this 5th point is bottleneck to growth. And what I love about this is that a bottleneck to growth is what's stopping you from growing and hitting your potential as a business. And for this, the only 2 bottlenecks is marketing, AKA getting their name out there to more customers, but then also the team. Meaning they have a bunch of jobs already, and the key thing is make sure that they have the team to execute on those jobs. And the last one is M&A. You can do a bunch of roll-ups of having a really strong business, finding smaller mom and pop shops, buying those businesses up, buying it for the contracts or for the talent, and then rolling that up into your broader, larger platform. And that is my gift to the owner of this business of how I would think about the investment thesis, growing the company, and scaling and crushing it going forward. Now the time has come for everyone's favorite moment, and that is the investment committee vote. Look, this channel is the home for smart money moves where I educate everyone on how to think about buying and investing like the pros. And what do all the pros do? They have a moment in their investing career where they vote and build conviction on an opportunity. So with everything that we learned so far, we are going to vote if we would buy or pass on this business if it were for sale. So what I want you all to do is take those fancy keyboards that you all have and type in BUY if you think this business is a buy, or PASS if you would pass on this opportunity if it were for sale. And after a week or 2 weeks, I'm going to tally up how much that we actually have and make a community post to see what our investment committee for the Kinney Finance fam has when it comes to this particular opportunity. If the majority of us decided to buy it or pass on it. And by the way, the only way you're going to see the results is if you're a subscriber to the channel. And I don't know what you're doing by now, but this is the home of all smart money moves, baby. So smash that subscribe button. All right, so now that you've voted, you should probably have a pretty clear picture of my stance on this business. And I am a huge buy. I love everything about this business, the team, as well as the service that they're providing to their customers and the community. So shout out to Bio1 for everything that they do. This business is absolutely crushing it.
What's your vision for Bio1?
So the vision, of course, is just to help as many people as possible. I mean, ultimately, I believe that as Bio1 and all of our other Bio1 representatives that are out there across the country, that, you know, we come in with lots of care and compassion. I mean, it's our heart. And when I talk to other owners, I see that same heart among them as well. And we just want to do good work. But ultimately, we have to make a profit for us to actually to continue to do the good work. Because as I mentioned, we sometimes do things for zero margin or negative margin because we just want to help out the families. We like to have that flexibility to make that happen. And that only happens if we're able to make the business grow and continue to thrive.
So there you have it, guys. This is one of the most amazing experiences talking with a real operator of an incredible cash flowing, a little dirty of a business, but this is the type of stuff that keeps the country going. Essential services like this, keeping things sanitary, clean, and safe for the community. So if you guys enjoyed this video, do yourself a huge favor and smash that like button down below. And if you are anywhere near the California area and you need these kind of services, we already gave you the phone number and website, so bang that link down below as well.
And look, this kind of business is only one of what I like to think are my top 10 recession-resilient cash flowing businesses. And if you want to understand what those other 9 markets are, check out this next video where I outline everything about the 10 cash flowing recession-resilient businesses, including biohazard cleanups, and check it out in that next video. And if you enjoyed this video, consider smashing that like button, and I will catch you guys on that next one. Peace.